All right, so this is going to be your owl pellet lab. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be here for the lab, so you're just actually going to have to watch me dissect it. This is the owl pellet. Um, I'm going to read exactly what's on your lab paper, so please follow along. And as I go and dissect it, you're going to be recording the data on your piece of paper. All right? So, owl pellets are masses of bone, teeth, hair, feathers, and exoskeletons of various animals preyed on by raptors. Raptors are birds that prey. Pellets are produced and regurgitated not only by owls, but by hawks, eagles, and other raptors that swallow their prey whole or in small pieces. All right. Owls feed early in the evening and regurgitate a single pellet approximately 20 hours after eating. All right. So, almost like how we digest our food. Unlike snakes, who also eat their whole prey, the protein enzymes and strong acids within the raptor's digestive tract, or the stomach, do not digest the entire meal. So, we're talking about the bones here. The gizzard of the bird forms the undigested fur, bones, and feathers into a wet, slimy pellet. In this process, even the most fragile bones are usually preserved and remain unbroken. Owl pellets can give us information about the diet of the owl because we're going to find the bones, the fossils. The owl pellets that you will be examining in this lab have been collected and fumigated from common owl barns. Owl pellets themselves are ecosystems. This is a very important part because there's a question about this. Owl pellets themselves are ecosystems. Owl pellets provide food and shelter for communities of cloth, clothes moths, carpet beetles, and fungi. Clothes moths are frequently abundant in pellets, feeding on furs and feathers. The black spears, which are about the size of periods, are the droppings of clothes moth caterpillars. The caterpillars metamorphose near the surface of the pellet in cocoons made of fur. All right? So that's that. All right, so materials. You need an owl palette. You need dissecting tweezers and needles. That's what these are. And actually, you do need a ruler for measuring. So here's my ruler. And then it also asks for like the mass or the weight of my owl pellet. So here is my scale here. So we're going to eventually weigh the mass out of that. All right. So procedure. Measure the length and width of your owl pellet. That's the first thing we're going to do. I'm going to take my ruler. And I'm going to be measuring this in inches. All right. So I'm measuring from the bottom to the top here. And it is 2 3/4. So on your paper, you're gonna write 2 3/4. So that's a 2. I'm just getting the pen. It's gonna be 2 3/4 is the length. The width, you're going to measure it like this, and it's going to be, that's the centimeter side, 1 inch in width. And then the mass of your owl palette, it's going to be your weight. So we're going to open this up, we're going to turn it on. Power's on. All right. We're going to zero it out. I'm going to take it up and I'm going to place it on the weight. Our owl pallet is 0.430 ounces. So 0.430 OZ ounces. All right. Number 2 says carefully examine the exterior of the pallet. I'm actually going to take this off right here and put it back down here. Turn off the scale. Carefully examine the exterior of the pallet. Do you see any signs of fur? I'm going to tell you now. Do you see any signs of fur? If you said no, you're crazy. There you go. So yes. Any signs of feathers? Next, number 3. Carefully use a toothpick to break apart the owl pellet and observe what is within. Use a toothpick, but we're going to be using this needle to expose all the bones for identification. Use the bone diagram to help you identify your bones and complete the chart below. Record your findings as numerical values. For example, if you find 2 rodent skulls, you put 2 in the rodent skull box. So what I mean by that is, looking at your chart here, if you find 2 rodent skulls, right here where it says skulls and you scoot over, it says rodent at the top, that's a rodent skull box, and so on and so forth for the rest of the categories. As far as the bone diagram that we were talking about, on the back of your first sheet, flip it over, and this is your bone diagram. So literally, as I'm picking out bones, I'm going to be comparing the bones that I find to this sheet of paper, and that is going to tell me what that bone is. All right, so that needs to stay right here as we dissect our owl pellet. All right, and that is it. We are now going to start dissecting. And as I dissect, you guys are going to record what you find, what I'm finding. I do find it easier that as I dissect, you just make a tally mark in the boxes, and then at the end you can count up the tallies in each of these boxes. Just make tally marks for what I find, and then put a final number at the end. All right, so let's do this. All right, so first we're gonna break it apart. And you want to do it really slowly because, as you can see, I probably just crushed something. All right, so the first thing I find here, all right, it had another bone attached to it, but I kind of broke that off, is this. It's a bone, and then, like I said, it had another bone attached, so I'm going to compare this to my chart. Now that I know what it looks like. And I don't know. It kind of looks like a scapula of a mole. So where on your paper it says scapula of a mole is where I'm going to place that bone because it looks just like that. All right, let's see what else we got. Oh, we got a couple of scapulas. See, this is what it looked like before I had that, took that other bone off. See that thin bone? Yeah, that was a part of it. But I don't see anything that looks exactly like this on the paper, so that's why I said it was the scapula. And we're gonna find another one of those, so we're gonna put that there too. So we found another scapula of a mole. Here's an interesting looking one. All right. And that, my friend, looks like the pelvic bone of a mole. Diving on the front right now, it looks like this guy eats a lot of moles. What else we got? Oh, we have so much bones in here, I'm not gonna lie to you. All right, here's a shorter bone. You can't see me dissecting it, can you? All right, here's another bone that I found. It's actually shorter than the other one. But still, it still looks like a mole bone. Maybe not. You know what? You know what actually it looks like? It looks like in the rodent category for the forelimb, the actual upper arm, like this part of the arm, it looks like that. So I'm gonna put some money on that. So the forearm limb of a rodent doesn't have all those bones and stuff, but it has enough. Ooh, I'm gonna break that. But this actually looks like okay. I'm gonna try to get this out really neat because this looks like a skull. Let's see what skull. Oh, it looks like might be a rodent skull because I can see the teeth and they're extremely yellow. I'm not gonna lie, like I did definitely like broke off a decent piece of the skull. But here it is, look. Ew, look at the teeth. Yeah. So that's a skull. I didn't want to try to get all that fur out because it was gonna pretty much break that thing apart. You can literally see the teeth. I'm gonna try to take away some of this fur. So you see it? Like the bottom teeth right there? Yeah. So, looking at this, like I mentioned, this definitely would go for a rodent skull. Look at the long teeth, rodent skull. Definitely, definitely. I think I found. Is that like another part of its face? Actually, I think that this is another rodent skull. This is like half of it. This is the same yellow, long yellow teeth. So we found another rodent skull. I have another piece of it in here somewhere. Another one of those four limbs for the rodent, which now makes sense because now that we're finding the skulls, clearly he ate some rodents. Clearly. What else? Oh, there's little tiny bones. So like I said, so bingo. So forearm, those are this part of the arm, but like little tiny bones like this are like this part of his arm. So clearly the arm's decomposed. I can probably like put it back together to show you guys that this is definitely his forearm of the rodent. Oh, it's very thin. All right, here's a different one. Trying to get the fur off. So bingo. So this thing here looks like at the bottom of your sheet, it's this little curvy bone. It's a rib bone of a rodent. Found that other piece of the rodent face. It's the other piece, so technically we still have two because that's just the other side of what we found earlier. I found another rib bone. This looks like there's actually not one like long and like that on here. What could this be? What could this be broken off of? Actually, now that I think about it, maybe it's no, but I don't see that much bones of a bird. So maybe it belongs with the forearm family over there. What I got? What's this? Oh, more rib bones. Again, these are rib bones of a rodent, is what I'm finding. Rib bones of a rodent. Rib bone of a rodent. He definitely tore that rodent up. Well, here's one that's a little different. Well, no lies, it's not different. This is what I said was probably the forearm. So that's 3 forearms. Well, no, that's 3 forearms officially. Okay, this is a little different. This is part of the vertebrae. One of these. Vertebrae. So looking at this, I would say it's the one that's like second to last in that room. Or it could be this big one. But no. Second to last. Definitely second to last. What's this? Definitely, I feel like another piece of a forearm. So like I said, we should have 3 total forearms. 4 limbs, same thing. Oh, snap. Found another rodent. He ate a lot of rodents. I thought he was going to eat a lot of moles, but he clearly ate a lot of rodents. So this is going to be our 3rd rodent, which makes sense because we have 3 forearms. I think I found... No, I found a 4th rodent. Found a 4th rodent, guys. Like I said, I'm going to try to get all the fur out so you can see it, but probably won't be able to. Okay, I'm not gonna, okay. You see it. All right, so those are the teeth. On the inside there, that's the side of the rodent face. Those are the teeth. So that is technically it's a 4th rodent. It's a 4th rodent right there. All right, so I'm gonna see if there's, ooh, I found the part of a vertebrae, but this one's like really tiny. I'm trying to make you guys see it. This tiny one clearly has to be that last one. Wait, and I found more things. Oh, here's one we didn't see before. And I found a little bit more vertebrae. I'm gonna pick them up in a second. Which one we haven't seen? Oh, yes, we have. That's a pelvic bone of a mole again. Or you know what? No, it's not. Okay, so I lied. Don't tally this pelvic bone of a mole. Clearly, these are pelvic bones of rats, because even though they look alike, because we've been seeing so much rats, I want to say that these are pelvic bones of rats. So I'm scooting them over to pelvic bones of rats. So. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. And then even for the scapula, I think that the scapula's here, because it has that extra bone, I think it might belong to, I think we're finding all bird pieces here. I'm sorry I said mole in the beginning, but it's starting to look like all these are bones of a rodent. Alright, so here's another vertebrae. Now the vertebrae don't give specifics of what animal, so here's the vertebrae. Get that fur off so that you can actually see it. It's another one of those second to last vertebrae. I can find another one of those. This one's a little different, but not too different. Part of their spine. And here's a tinier one. This one is that third to last vertebrae. The big hole in the middle. Alright. So, and another rib. Alright, so like there's so much other things to dissect here. But oh, I found my rodent head, so let's make those count. Well, this is the one we already found, but I found the other part to that rodent face, the other half one, so that's officially 4. Alright, and other things look like we just repeated already that I'm finding. Alright, so I'm pretty much gonna end the dissection here. So again, I mentioned as I was going what I was finding, and I was placing it on the paper. So just so you can see that I'm placing them on the paper. Like I said, pretty much a lot of rodents. So we're gonna stick with the rodent section. And this is the finished product of all that dissecting. And like I said, there's so much other bones in there, but I'm just not gonna pick them out because we don't need to. All right, so on the back of this paper, not on the back of this paper, your questions paper. Let me just reiterate some of these questions.
There's a science department meeting now in room 631. There's a science department.
Clearly, I gotta go.
You're meeting now in 631. Thank you.
But so the intro video that you guys are gonna watch talks about how the owl actually digests its prey and things like that. And also on this worksheet, it talks about that. So make sure you answer number 1. And be sure to answer every single part. I'm talking about like it captures it, then it does what with it. From that part to the part that it regurgitates this palette, I want to know. The ecosystem, remember I told you to pay attention to that part. As I was reading, go back to that part and tell me again what kind of animals are found in the owl pellet ecosystem. Seagull, it said that another type of bird that forms pellets is a seagull. What do you expect to find in the pellet of a seagull? I added, you may need to research a seagull's diet. Do that. You may use your computer. I don't recommend using your phone because you guys don't know how to contain yourselves. So, on your computer, research, or somebody's computer, research seagull diet. The sub will have my computer so they can research seagull diet and just let you guys know. So I might let them know to do that. Again, here's a little paragraph about rafters. The final question is, do you think an eagle palette would be as useful for dissecting as an owl's? Why or why not? Once you read that paragraph, you'll see that, again, it's a little different for owls versus eagles. So again, would an eagle's be just as useful as what we found for our owl? Based on the number of organisms found in your owl pellet, if an owl produces 1 pellet a day, how much shrew? So we didn't find any shrew. So we're going to change that to rodent. And I did put it there. If you did not have any shrew in your palette, pick another prey to complete this question. You guys are going to use rodents to complete that question. So I'm asking you, the fact that in 1 pellet, we found 4 rodents, how much rodents would that owl have eaten in a week? How much would it have eaten in a month? How much would it have eaten in a year? If it produced a pellet a day. So do that math. If teeth were found in a dissection, how would you know if it belonged to a herbivore or carnivore? And I added, you may need to research the difference between herbivore and carnivore teeth. I did show you, I can show you again, what a rat's teeth look like. So hint, hint, rats have those front teeth like that, but the back teeth are very flat. So if I were you, I would just go ahead and research rat teeth, and try to find a website that kind of gives you details on why rats' teeth are certain ways. Like, why are those front teeth so long and why are the back teeth so flat? And that will kind of give you a heads up, because you've only found rat teeth, heads up on whether it's going to be a herbivore or carnivore. On the back of this paper, construct a diagram of a food pyramid with an owl at the 4th trophic level and grass at the 1st. Determine which of the owl's prey belong to the second trophic level and which will belong to the third. All right. So the owl's prey, again, we technically only found rodents, but from this diagram, you know that owls eat rodents, shrew, moles, and birds. So, again, research rodent, shrew, mole, and bird and see what they eat, because that's going to determine where you're putting those inside of your food pyramid. If they only eat grass, they need to go in that second. If they eat animals, other animals, they need to go in that third. And then the owl will be in the fourth. All right? If you're not sure about how to do that, the packets are still on the table, and it's right here. Right when they were talking about the 10% rule, both here and here, those give you, again, those are those food pyramids, and they tell you who needs to go where. All right, so you guys have that to look at as well. This lab, let me lean down so you can see me. This lab is due at the end of the class period. The only people who will be giving in an incomplete lab for the first day and a complete lab on the second day will be third block. All my other class periods need to have this lab done. We pretty much did it already. All you have to do is answer these questions. Also, if you did not complete the concept review, the substitute has those papers with them and they can provide it to you. You need to finish it. I will also provide some blank copies for those of you who are here. All right. Lab is complete. We're complete. Love yous. Done.